Well, there he is. There's Rayman standing in an empty screen. See, after losing yet another of the inane competitions awkwardly forced together to create this inane video game, this is what appeared on my screen. Rayman, all alone, in the middle of nowhere, not entirely sure where he is, or evidently, what he's doing. And I think that empty image is a fitting metaphor for this empty game. This is Rayman Arena for the PlayStation 2, and you get the sense that's about as far as Ubisoft thought this game through. You get the sense someone stared at the detachable hero for about an hour before finally just saying, well, there he is. There's Rayman. So now what? Of course, the answer was obvious. As a platform mascot, Rayman was almost obligated to headline his own mascot racer. And if there's one thing it deserves credit for, Rayman Arena at least tries to offer a unique spin on that old idea. Unfortunately, unique ideas can also be really bad ideas. You see, Rayman Arena is a mascot racer, but without the vehicles. This game is actually an on-foot mascot racer in which you guide one of 9 characters from the Rayman universe through 3 obstacle-filled laps before crossing the finish line. It's actually an interesting idea because it essentially amounts to a glorified speedrun. So Rayman Arena feels more like competitive speedrunning than just another derivative Mario Kart clone. So, at least in concept, the game sounds interesting, right? And it throws in a decent amount of content, too. There are 15 courses in total, it supports up to 4 players, and as a platforming fan, I really dig the idea of, institutionalized speedrunning. Of course, Rayman Arena isn't the first on-foot racing game, but there haven't been many. And after just a few laps in this one, it's easy to see why. Now, the controls are adequate, but the gameplay itself just feels clunky. Moving the characters isn't nearly as smooth and precise as you'd like it to be, and the whole attack mechanic, with which you can freeze your opponents, gets really frustrating and really old really fast. Perhaps more importantly, though, the game runs out of ideas even faster. You see, even across the different racing objectives, there's just not a whole lot of variety to the gameplay. It all feels very recycled, and that makes Rayman Arena feel even more like an idea that just wasn't fully developed, in both the physical and conceptual meanings of the word. Of course, the game is actually separated into 2 parts. You've got the clunky platform racing, but you also have another mode which is essentially a very crude third-person shooter. And in this battle mode, you have to outrun your opponent to collect a series of items that's scattered across each of the mode's 15 arenas. Hence, Rayman Arena. I just find it strange they'd named the entire game after its worst half. I mean, at least the racing feels like it could have been an interesting concept, but the battle mode is just awful. It really feels like it was an afterthought, like an uninspired idea thrown in at the last minute in a fleeting attempt to add some variety. But ultimately, the only thing it added was mediocrity. Apart from what really could have been a fun concept, there just isn't much reason to recommend this game to anyone except maybe the most devout Rayman enthusiasts. And really, even they wouldn't be missing much. The battle mode is just abysmal, and even though the race courses aren't poorly designed or anything, they're just boring. Frankly, so is the gameplay. And like the limbless mascot himself, Rayman Arena just isn't fleshed out.